Not only is the government shut down right now because Republicans are trying to rob millions of Americans of their health care, but they are also quite literally stealing food from veterans' mouths. The Support the Troops traders are actively starving veterans to give more tax breaks to billionaires. That's right, in the president's big butt-fucking us bill that cut healthcare services for millions of Americans, it also cut countless other essential social programs for them. And one of the major ones is SNAP. 20,000 military families, 213,000 Guard and Reserve members, and 1.1 million veterans rely on SNAP benefits to not starve. And Republicans have stolen that from them. Not stealing it, stolen it. Many of the changes made that I'm going to tell you about went into effect at the beginning of October. First off, they've capped future increases for SNAP benefits and their families, and that includes veterans. And they've changed the definition for what counts as abled body for work requirements to get SNAP benefits, a change which disproportionately affects service members and veterans who have all kinds of disabilities caused by their service that are no longer counted. They raised the age exemption for these work requirements 11 years, from 54 years old to 65, meaning that millions of people who are over 54 but under 65, and tens of thousands of veterans and their families in that age range who are currently receiving SNAP benefits to help feed their family will go hungry, and could continue going hungry for over a decade before they're eligible for the program again. The caretaker exemption dropped from covering parents who had children up to 22 years old down to parents with children of only 14 years old and under, meaning that tens of thousands of families that had access to food assistance to help feed their teenage children, including many of those 20,000 military families, gone. Those families are going hungry, and they're going hungry now. And before October 1st, there was an exemption for homeless people, for former kids who were in foster care, and for veterans. But not anymore. Now it doesn't matter if you're homeless, a veteran, or a homeless vet. Republicans have stolen the food from your mouth to feed the fat pigs that own them. And as October hit and the leaves began changing and the air got crisper, Republicans also made it exponentially more difficult for the people who rely on these programs to get energy and heating assistance. Just a month or two away before in many parts of the country it'll be so cold it can kill. Which honestly, with all of these new Republican cuts, should be the new GOP slogan. Republicans, so cold it can kill. Literally. Now look, I never served in the military, but I know that if I was a service member or a veteran, I'd feel pretty fucking exploited by the politicians who wrapped themselves in the flag and preached patriotism and how it was our solemn duty to support the troops while they actively stole the literal food from my mouth. If I was a service member or a vet who was fortunate enough to not need to rely on food assistance, I would still be pissed as hell for all of these politicians who think that they can steal from my fellow service members who do. And even though I'm not that service member or vet, I know that that's how I'd feel, because I feel that way now as a fucking American. I don't need food assistance, housing assistance, heating assistance, but I could not be more disgusted and irate that the people who work for us, our fucking politicians, our elected officials, are stealing it from our veterans, from our children, from the most vulnerable in our communities who do need it. And if you aren't as angry and disgusted as I am, then I have zero respect for you, because you have zero respect for yourself and zero respect for the members of your community, whatever that community may be. Because every single community in this country, besides the billionaires with the boots on our neck, have people in it who need a little help sometimes. And how we treat the people in need of that help will say a lot more about us than it will ever say about the people who need that help and why they need it, regardless of if you feel they deserve it or not. So everybody who can be in DC on November 22nd should be, and if you can't be, you should be encouraging everybody who can be, because there's going to be a march to the Capitol where we're going to tell these parasites in Washington that are supposed to work for us that this shit will not be tolerated. Their days of stealing from the poor and the working class and veterans and children and giving it to the rich are over, and they better start working for us right now, or working on getting the fuck out of the way, because we will not take their tyranny anymore.